Good afternoon, Virgo. Uh, Sit down for this one. Actually, sit down because what's coming through today is not subtle, it's not gentle, um, and it's not something you were fully prepared to hear. You made a choice, a real one, not a passive one, not I just haven't met anyone, an active, deliberate, this is what I need right now choice to protect your energy, your body, your peace. And that choice, that specific, personal, nobody asked you decision, is apparently driving someone absolutely crazy. Not in a disrespectful way, in the way that only happens when someone is genuinely, specifically can't stop thinking about it, drawn to another person. The kind of drawn that keeps you up. That makes ordinary Tuesday afternoons feel like they have an itch you can't locate. That puts someone's name in your head during conversations they have nothing to do with. That's where they are right now. Whether you know it clearly or you've just been sensing something without being able to name it, that's exactly where they are. Uh, and your celibacy, your boundary, your standard, your choice isn't repelling them, it's doing the opposite. And today we need to talk about why, and more importantly, what you do with that. Here's what's actually happening psychologically. When someone encounters a person who has a clear, unshakable relationship with their own boundaries, something shifts in them. Um, Not because the boundary is a challenge to overcome, but because people who know what they will and won't accept, who aren't negotiating their standards based on who's in the room, carry a frequency that's almost impossible to ignore. It reads as self possession, and self possession is magnetic in a way that performance never is. You can perform confidence, you can perform desirability, you cannot perform actually knowing yourself. And they're feeling that, they're responding to that. Whether they have language for it or not, uh, your celibacy isn't the barrier they're trying to break through. It's the signal that told them um, this person is different. This person doesn't operate the way I expected. This person requires something from me I haven't been asked to bring in a long time. And that realization, that specific, slightly destabilizing realization, is what has them obsessed. Now, let's be precise about what obsessed actually looks like in practice. Because obsessed doesn't always look like intensity. Sometimes it looks quiet. It looks like them showing up consistently without being asked. Um, Remembering details you mentioned once and never repeated. Finding reasons to be near you that are technically plausible but obviously constructed. Paying a quality of attention that goes several levels beyond casual interest. It looks like them being slightly more careful around you than they are around other people, slightly more considered, um, like someone who knows they're operating with less margin for error than usual because the thing they want doesn't come easy and they know it. Does any of that sound familiar? Because if it does, that's not coincidence. That's someone recalibrating their entire approach because you've made it clear, explicitly or implicitly, that the standard approach won't work here. This reflection invites you to consider, when did you first notice something different in how they show up around you? Not what you thought it meant at the time. Just when did the quality of their attention shift from ordinary to something you couldn't quite file away as nothing? Because that moment, that's probably when the obsession locked in. Now, let's talk about wanting to end it, because that phrase, they want to end your celibacy, needs to be unpacked carefully. Because there are two very different versions of that wanting, and knowing which one you're dealing with is everything. The first version, and this is the one to watch for, is wanting to end it as a conquest, as a goal, as something that's primarily about them and what it would mean for them to be the one who got through. This version sees your boundary as a lock and themselves as the key. It's interested in the achievement, not in you, not in what comes after, not in building anything, just in the getting there. That version is real, it exists. And your discernment, the same discernment that made the choice in the first place, is what protects you from it. The second version, and this is the one the energy around this situation might actually be pointing at, is wanting to end it because they genuinely want to be with you. Because something about who you are has made the idea of a real connection, not a casual one, not a convenient one, feel worth pursuing properly, worth being patient for, worth showing up differently for. This version isn't trying to break through your boundary. This version is asking, what does it take to be someone you choose to share that part of yourself with? And then actually trying to become that. That distinction between someone pursuing the trophy and someone pursuing you shows up in behavior over time. Not in what they say, in what they do when there's no immediate reward for doing it. When showing up costs them something, time, comfort, ego, and they show up anyway, that's the data. Watch the behavior, not the words, not the intensity of their interest. Interest is cheap. Behavior is expensive, and expensive is the only currency that matters here. This reflection invites you to consider, what would this person need to demonstrate, not say, demonstrate, for you to trust that their wanting comes from a real place, not what would feel good to hear, what would need to be shown consistently over real time before you'd consider letting this person into the space you've been protecting. Get specific. Know your answer before they ask the question. Because they might ask, and knowing your answer in advance, clearly, specifically, without having to construct it in real time while they're looking at you, is what keeps you in your power when that conversation arrives. Now let's talk about your celibacy itself. Because this isn't just about them. Uh, this is about what that choice has been doing for you, what it's been building, what it's been protecting, what it's been clarifying. Celibacy, real celibacy, chosen celibacy, the kind that comes from a place of self respect rather than circumstance, does something specific to a person over time. Um, it forces a different relationship with yourself. Because when physical intimacy is removed from the equation, when that particular form of connection isn't available as a shortcut or a comfort or a way of feeling close to someone quickly, you have to actually meet yourself. You have to sit with your own company. You have to know what you actually want versus what you were accepting because it was available. You have to develop a relationship with your own worth that doesn't depend on someone else's physical interest in you to stay intact. And that internal development is exactly what they're responding to. Um, Not the absence of something, the presence of something, the presence of a person who is complete, who isn't looking to be completed. Who would be adding someone to a life already whole, not filling a hole with a person shaped thing? Uh, that completeness, people feel it. They can't always name it, but they feel it. Um, and it makes them want to be near it, to be chosen by it, to be the person that completeness decides to open to. Because being chosen by someone who doesn't need you, uh, who wants you specifically, deliberately from a place of fullness rather than lack, that means something different than being chosen by someone who was just ready to choose someone. That's the distinction. And they know it, even if they can't articulate it. Now, the impact part. Because the title says prepare for impact, and that's not dramatic language for nothing. What might be coming in this connection, in the way this person moves toward you, um, could require you to make a real decision. Not a passive one, not a default one, a real eyes open, this is what I choose decision. And that decision has layers. Layer one, is this person worth considering at all? Not based on how they make you feel in their best moments, based on who they are consistently, based on what their behavior has shown you about their character, their patience, their capacity to handle someone who has standards. That assessment comes first, before anything else. Layer two, if yes, what does opening look like for you specifically? Not in the general sense, in the specific personal sense of someone who has been intentionally closed and is now considering opening. What does that transition require? What needs to be in place? What conversations need to happen? What clarity needs to exist? Because opening without clarity isn't bravery, it's just a different kind of protection failure. Layer three, and this is the one people skip most often. What are you afraid of? Not on the surface, underneath. because celibacy for many people becomes not just a choice, but a shield. And shields are useful until they start keeping out things you actually want. The question isn't whether you should end your celibacy. The question is whether the reasons you'd say no to this particular person are about them or about the shield. Um, Knowing the difference, honestly, without self deception, is the most important thing you can do right now. This reflection invites you to consider, what is your celibacy currently protecting you from? Not what it was protecting you from when you chose it. What is it protecting you from right now, today, in this specific situation with this specific person? Is the protection still necessary? Or has it become a habit dressed up as a standard? Only you know the answer, and the answer matters. Here's what doesn't change, regardless of what you decide: your worth, your value, the fundamental okayness of who you are. None of that is on the table. None of that is being negotiated. None of that shifts based on whether you open or stay closed, whether you choose this person or don't, whether this situation develops or dissolves. You are not more valuable for being celibate. You are not less valuable for considering ending it. Your value is fixed, constant, not subject to the decisions you make about your own body and your own life. Anyone who suggests otherwise implicitly or explicitly is already showing you who they are. What this moment is actually about. Underneath the obsession and the impact and the decision coming is whether you trust yourself enough to make a choice from your center rather than from your fear, in either direction. Staying closed from fear isn't a standard, it's avoidance. Opening from fear of losing someone isn't a choice, it's a cave. But choosing from clarity, from self knowledge, from a place of genuine assessment of who this person is and what they've shown you, that's power. Real power, the kind that stays with you regardless of outcome. So prepare for impact, not by bracing, by getting clear, by knowing yourself, by having your answer ready before the question arrives, by deciding in advance what you're choosing and why, so that when they show up with whatever they're building toward, you meet it from the ground, steady, unshakable, fully yourself. Because that version of you, the clear, grounded, already decided version, is the one they're obsessed with anyway. Don't show up as anything less than her when it matters most. The power is yours. It always has been. Make the choice that makes you proud, not the choice that makes them happy, not the choice that keeps the peace. The one that 6 months from now you look back on and recognize as the most honest thing you could have done for yourself first, always first. Take what resonates, softly release the rest, trust yourself. Tell me in the comments what made you choose celibacy in the first place, not what you tell people, the real reason. Drop it below. And how do you know when someone is worth reconsidering your standards for? What does that look like to you? Let's talk about it. That's all for today. Stay grounded, stay clear, and whatever impact is coming, meet it standing up. Take care.